All right. So we're back here once again here, episode 74. Commanders in the chat. Oh wow. We winding down the season, Rob.
It good.
Yeah, man. It feels like the final days of school. It really feels like the last week of school.
It feels like the last week of a long uh school year that we failed miserably.
Yeah, it's like I feel like we gotta go to summer school after this. Like where everybody in the playoffs and recess. We gotta go to summer school. We gotta go to summer school and night school.
Oh yeah.
But we here, even in a trying year like 2023 has been for this Washington Commanders team. We soldier along, and then the crazy thing about all the situation, you think to yourself, oh, it's 2 weeks left. Oh, you're thinking not much is going on in the organization, but oh, it's tons of stuff going on with this team, on and off the field. So what we'll do, first we'll just talk about first, kind of get everybody kind of not acclimated, but more so of get your thoughts, Rob, about Jacoby Brissett. Pretty much was named the starter for the final two games of the season. Obviously, he came in against the Rams game. In the fourth quarter, 8 for 10, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then against the Jets last week, he went 10 for 13, 100 yards, and 1 touchdown. So your thoughts on first, obviously Sam Howell being benched, and then Jacoby Brissett becoming the starter.
First on Sam getting benched. Long time coming, I guess you would say. It was really expected at this point. He's played terrible the last 5 or 6 weeks. I think after what was it, week 10 or 11, somewhere in that area, he was either leading the league in passing yards or within top five, top three, and it's just a huge drop off. Not even like something that you can just picking at straws. It's been a huge drop off. He's been one of the worst quarterbacks in the league the last few weeks. Um, Jacoby Brissett coming in to the Rams game and scoring those points. I don't know if it was 21-0 or 28-0. Ended up losing the game 20-8, 21-28, something like that. And I'm gonna keep it a buck. I did not watch that game at all. I watched maybe a couple minutes of it and then I went golfing. So I couldn't even tell you how he looked. I couldn't tell you how bad Sam Howell looked because I was so uninterested in that football game. I went golfing that's what I did my afternoon that Sunday. As far as
Yeah.
Jacoby Brissett starting, good for him. I feel like this is what has happened everywhere he's been, whether it's been New England, whether it's been Indianapolis, last year in Cleveland. He's become the starter. He's played himself into yet another backup contract. Is he a starter in this league? Probably not. I think he has shown that, even though he went 3-1 in his 4 games when Tom Brady was suspended for the infamous Deflategate. But there's a reason this man is making $12 million for this one season he was with Washington, and Sam Howell was making fifth round money. I mean, ideally, I would have liked to see maybe Jacoby Brissett come in earlier in the year when Sam Howell started struggling, or when he was putting up yards, but he wasn't winning ball games. I think it's a perfect fitting to end the Ron Rivera era in playing a quarterback seemingly for no reason, because Brissett's not going to be on this team next year. Hal is not the future going forward, and we'll get into that in a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he hasn't been the same since he got that hit against the Giants. Remember when in the end zone, and at the time he was evaluated for concussion and did
Yeah.
end up coming back. And I don't think he's ever been the same ever since that play. I mean, honestly, when you think about it, because obviously then you think Thanksgiving, and then the Dolphins, then the bye week, and then these other two games that we played. He hasn't been the same in these how many games we counted? What, 5?
Mm-hmm.
in the last five games he's played. I figured, Jacoby was gonna he gives him somewhat of a boost, especially you see like what he did, obviously to play with him doing his thing with Terry. Terry finally got the ball in the sense. Terry kind of especially in that Rams game, I think that he had his highest output. I think he had 140 receiving yards, and that's concerned. So that's one of those where it's going to be really interesting. And I mean, the thing with the situation with Sam Howell is it's crazy because now it's almost like the confidence could be lost. I mean, that's where it's kind of one of those where could the situation be repaired, and could we get this new head coach? Will he be able to repair Sam Howell? Because I think his confidence is shot. I mean,
Yeah.
It's been bad,
Getting benched twice in as many weeks can't be good for anybody.
Yeah, and that's one thing. Yeah, and Jacoby will give us somewhat of a boost. And he'll, especially in the Jets game. I actually watched. So I was on the road. I was headed back home, back home, and I seen some of it, because obviously, as far as getting the best reception isn't the best, but yeah, I mean, what could have went wrong in that first half for that Commanders team went wrong. I mean, but I think we were down like 28-7 at halftime, and we're like, God, the 32nd worst offense, even though it was more so the defense kind of, well, not defense, but our offense kind of, as far as having a few turnovers that kind of led to some of those scores. But yeah, it was ugly. But they was able to kind of get themselves back in the second half, and unfortunately did lose, by that field goal. So it was trust me, consider yourself lucky being on the green. Why why this team was suffering. So that might be a smart move. Maybe I do that this weekend. I don't know about golfing, but something, an activity. Yeah, do something that's fun and constructive. That don't put your mind.
It's much better for you, much more better for your mental health. I can promise you that.
That is true because week in and week out, this is kind of like it sucks. Because we haven't won a game since November the 5th. We haven't won a game since daylight savings time. That's crazy. we almost on a damn near. If we don't win against San Francisco, we'll be on a 2-month losing streak. Like it's ridiculous, but it is what it is. But so very very interesting turn of events for this season thus far. So let's talk about this draft positioning that the Commanders are in. So obviously they have, if the season ended today, they'd be the third overall. They have third overall pick in the NFL draft. Arizona is currently at 3-12. They do face Philly this week, and I don't know who they in the season with, but essentially, if the the Cardinals win 2 straight games, which I doubt is going to happen, the Commanders could move up to the number 2 overall spot. We all know that Carolina Panthers pretty much have got that position on lock at this point. I think they're like 2-13, so they're good as the number 1 pick, which will go to the Bears. So, what's your thoughts on drafting number 3, and is it worth trying to get to 2, or what's your thoughts on that?
I think it's worth to get to 1, honestly. So the only reason I say I think it's worth to move up to 1 is 2 things. 1, you don't know what Chicago is going to do. You can assume, you can guess, but you can't assume that they're going to stick with Justin Fields. You can hope that they do. Then you have Arizona there at 2, which you assume they're going to keep Kyler Murray just because that's going to be a tough contract to get rid of unless you go the Denver route, which we're seeing now, and just take Kyler for the next 2 weeks and then cut him and eat the cap money. You could do that. I don't see them doing that right now because again, I haven't heard anything about them sitting him for the next couple of weeks. So again, we're looking at what would you have to give up to get to that number one spot. You already have the third overall pick, so you're not giving up a ton there. You're moving from 3 to 1. Most likely, it's going to take a 1 next year. Um, and then I've seen because you know how watching Twitter they do everybody's doing their mock drafts. Some are pretty good and some are laughable. You're looking at I've seen people throw in maybe Jonathan Allen. So essentially 3 first-round picks, what you're getting. Plus, you're getting that Jonathan Allen cap money out off your books. I've seen a third get thrown in there, maybe R3 this year, one of the thirds, preferably the one we got from San Francisco, and then a first next year. I think that might be able to do it. I think you go for it because at the end of the day, with a talent like Caleb Williamson, say what you want. I don't care what you say about the man painting his fingernails. Lots of men do it. Some of the most macho, masculine men I've ever met in my life paint their fingernails. Um, he cried to his mom. I don't care. Dude wins football games. Let's be honest. USC's defense, and I watched it firsthand every single game this year. Our defense was terrible. You give Lincoln Riley just a competent, or I'm sorry, you give Caleb Williams just a competent defense, not even a great defense, just a competent defense. We're probably going 11-1 this year. Probably still lose to Washington. I don't think we lose to Oregon. Washington is pretty much our only loss this year. Was again just a competent defense. So you go get your first overall pick. Now, would I play him immediately? No. I say keep Sam. You're paying him that 5th-round rookie money. Use it to your advantage. Play him. Maybe you do develop him into something. He becomes great, becomes really good, and then you do basically what Kansas City did with Alex Smith. You play him for a year, let your first-round pick from the year before get some confidence, get some play time, and then you trade Sam Howell to whoever needs a halfway decent quarterback, and you rock with Caleb Williams the rest of the way.
Yeah, and the thing, if you do trade up to number one, like you said, because it's weird because obviously see that my webcam acting up, but so you like the consensus would think, okay, one breath you think, okay, Chicago should get Caleb Williams because they, the quarterback situation. Now, you look at how they feel about Justin Fields. Do they want to pick up his option? Because it's almost that time to pretty much start paying him big bucks.
Yeah.
Do they kind of start this thing all over? Or what you do is you put Justin Fields and you surround him with a true number one, even though DJ Moore looked like a number one versus us.
Oh, yeah.
On Thursday Night Football. But you bring in a guy like a Marvin Harrison Jr., who will be definitively be your number one wide receiver from start, from the get go. So, like you say, that makes sense for them. And then you say Arizona is interesting because Arizona, they're another one where you're thinking they're going to either, if Marvin Harrison is still there, Marvin Harrison to drop down to number 2. Yeah. Because you think to yourself, then you think to yourself, they bought Kyler Murray out for a reason. Is it because so they had some good film on him? They say, hey, he's trade worthy, but you say like as far as when the money, are they willing to eat the cap and then just start all over fresh with another quarterback? Now what Washington's gonna be interesting if they do trade up in one of those slides, if they trade up to Chicago, which is crazy because they'll essentially wouldn't that be crazy? They really flipped. If the Bears do this and they get some, either we be a trading partner with them or another team, it would be wild to me if if they really flip last year's pick, they got the number 1 pick this year, they'll get Washington's pick they'll just move up to 3. They'll probably get a 2025 and I think
Okay.
2026 draft picks. So I definitely think it's gonna be 3 draft picks. And like you said, it could be some assets. Could be like like you said, maybe a Jonathan Allen get thrown in this as well, or what have you. Who knows? Wouldn't that be something if you have you had Montez Sweat and Jonathan Allen made for the Bears? That'd be wild.
Hey,
That would be
hey,
so
they
wild.
probably do good things for Chicago too.
Yeah, I mean, especially look at Montez. Like even he's there, he's their leading sack leader for
Yep.
Washington and Chicago.
First player ever to do that. Lead 2
Yeah,
different
man,
teams in sacks. That's crazy.
legendary. He's on his way to Canton.
Yep.
So
That's another thing. Because here's the thing. So
yeah,
Arizona, let me see who they play week 18. They got Philadelphia and then Seattle. Seattle,
yeah,
I'd say, is a winnable-ish game.
yeah,
I mean, Arizona stunned Dallas this year, so who knows what can happen against Philly. And Philly's kind of railing right now.
yeah.
Had the
And then
Giants for the little get right game, but they're only a game. They're 3-12 right now. We're 4-11. If they win either one of these next 2 games, and we lose both of ours, we're both sitting at 4-12. Our strength of schedule is weaker, which is the initial tiebreaker.
yeah.
In draft pick. So that would bump us. If we both finish 4-11, that would bump us to 2. And at that point, you can either sit back and wait to see what Chicago does, because you would assume if they keep that pick, they're drafting Marvin Harrison Jr. Or you have a team like, let's say, the Giants or the Patriots try to trade up to that 1 spot, because Chicago is probably thinking you can get Marvin Harrison at that 4 or 5 spot.
Yeah.
So then you would have to pull a Chicago on Chicago and move from 2 to 1 if you really want your quarterback. Unless this front office, whoever it ends up being, really likes Drake May, which in my opinion, and I haven't watched a lot on him this season, and you may disagree with me because you are a North Carolina fan, so you watch it a lot.
Yeah.
Watch him a lot closer. I do. I just feel like he's Sam Howell 2.0. I don't. I know, and I get the May last name in North Carolina is right there with Jordan, with the Worthies. What the May family as a whole has done for the University of North Carolina, it's hard to say something like that, but I'm just afraid he's going to be Sam Howell 2.0.
I disagree. Honestly, I think Sam, in a weird way, I think he was better than Drake May, in my personal opinion. As far as, well, I mean, I think the issue at hand, and that's why I was more curious as to, like you said, if because I don't think Chicago's going to have the biggest poker face of it all. Like Chicago is such a great spot because that's going to be the biggest guessing game. Are they going to keep Justin Fields, or are they going to keep their number 1? And I'm telling you, we think in theory it might be 3. I know a lot of people saying it's going to take 3, but there could be a potential bidding war that somebody might be desperate enough to give them that and then some. So it's kind of one of those where if they move out of that spot, similar to what they did last year, when they actually had the number 1 overall pick last year, and they trade down. So, and it's funny because I thought too, where this would be a great place for us if we decide to go the alternate route, which I think they should potentially do. We'll kind of allude that a little bit later. Like if we get like a guy like Joe Alt or the guy from Penn State, and we kind of get that offensive line going. And because I definitely think New England will move up. If they're trying to move up to get with us at 3, and maybe we'll get like a 2025 number 1 draft. I mean, first round pick. So it's kind of one of those where it's really interesting of how it's all gonna play out. But Chicago is the one that holds the key to all of this, and they are going to their phone is gonna be ringing off the hook once the season is over, because everybody going to at least inquire about it. So Man, to be the Chicago Bears.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
And
Who
honestly,
knows? Yeah.
looking
Mhm.
at it too, if Carolina is able to win the last two games, which who do they have? They have Jacksonville and Tampa Bay. I mean, neither
They
of those
both
teams
fight
are
for a playoff
particularly
spot.
good. Yeah, but neither of the teams are particularly world beaters. If all three of us, Carolina, Arizona, and Washington, all finish 4-11, we have the weakest strength of schedule, and that we'd get the tiebreaker. We get first overall pick.
Yeah. Yeah, and you think because Carolina, even though like you said, we know it's a week in, week out kind of business, but they are playing against teams that are fighting for their playoff lives. So it's going to be a little bit different. And like that was, Carolina could be, like I said, potentially a spoiler. This would be a perfect opportunity, like you said, they have somewhat of a chance to win those games, but they are going against two teams these final 2 weeks that have somewhat of a, obviously Jacksonville, legitimate shot, and then also, the Buccaneers, who, so yeah, but if it happens, we'd be had number one overall pick. That'll be perfect because that's another one where we'll find out. And that's the thing about that's gonna be the beauty about who's gonna be this new head coach, who's gonna be the general manager, because they'll make the final say of who they rather have. So it's gonna be really interesting. But I think if they had a number one overall pick, I think they would draft a quarterback in that spot. I mean, I think when you
Oh
got the
yeah,
number one overall pick, unless something crazy happened and you get a deal that knocks you off your feet.
unless this team, if they end up with the first pick, they get essentially a an offer the way the Rams got from us back in 2012 to draft RG3. If it's something like that, I think a king's ransom essentially. You can't pass that up, and
Yeah,
also going to depend on whoever that team is, where they are in draft standings, and if you like a quarterback that you feel that you can get mid first round, maybe early second, maybe a Michael Penix Jr. or Bo Nix. If the talent scouts really love somebody like that, then I mean, got to pull the trigger on
yeah,
something like that. But again, it's going to be interesting the way these cards fall the last 2 weeks of the season, where we end up, whether we're 3-2, possibly one, even fourth or fifth, maybe. But yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting.
yeah, for sure. So yeah, I guess this one of those where we kind of already since answered the question in the sense, even in our current position at three, should the Commander draft a quarterback? And I think you've already kind of alluded to that already, but
Absolutely, 100%. Again, Sam Howell has shown what he has shown me, what I've seen last few weeks. And again, I did not watch the Rams game. I watched the first half of the Jets game and then the last couple of drives with Brissett. But I mean, you don't get benched back to back weeks because you're doing such a great job. So yeah,
yeah.
you draft a quarterback in this situation. You have to.
Yeah. I think, in my personal opinion, I think you get, like I talked about earlier. I think at three, you try to see you have a trade partner and see if somebody want to get at our spot at three and kind of somewhat trade down, maybe get like the offensive lineman, either Joe Alt or the guy from Penn State, at this point. And then, like you said, if it's a situation, down the line, if there's a quarterback that you want, further down, like you said, maybe like a Jaden Daniels, or Michael Penix, or this and third, Bo Nix, to get that. But I still have confidence in him out. I think my issue with him is I think he's got to learn a couple things. He got to learn to release that ball at the right times. I think he holds the ball a lot. I think that's one thing I think people kind of fail to realize. People blame the offensive line for some of the struggles, but like, yeah, they're part of the problem. But many of those sacks were him, holding the ball longer than he should. So I think that's one of the things. And I think he has to kind of trust his wide receivers in a sense where, he got to understand, even though when he throws that football, they aren't open, but they'll be open where that ball lands. So I
Yeah.
think one thing, so he has to trust that, but I don't know if that's going to be a situation that can be remedied. you know, with whoever comes in. But I still think there's something in him. I think he needs to get that confidence built back up. His situation kind of remind me almost like kind of Doug Peterson and Jalen Hurts. Like it reminds me a lot of that relationship where it was like, hey, we really didn't want him, and we just, obviously, they ain't bench him in the final two games, but they bench him in that final game against us. So you look at that situation, but yeah, I think his confidence is shot. Hopefully, whoever comes in will help, get that and kind of help fine tune those situations. And I think the issue too is I think whoever be our OC, I think we'll have more of a balanced attack. And I think that's was the biggest issue because Sam really wasn't supposed to be in a predicament where he's throwing the ball this much. Like he was supposed to. I thought my thought was more of a balanced attack. Definitely, you got guys like AG, you got Brian Robinson, Chris Rodriguez, you got comparable running backs that can run the ball, get you some yardage, and I understand like a lot of that passing because we were behind a lot in many of these games, but still, but I still got faith in Sam Howell.
Well, at least one of us does.
Yeah, hey, you know, hey, and that's the crazy thing about with our Commander fandom. It's like it's always divided. It's half and half, and I think even though he's to me, I still think he's had a fairly good year. He just hit the wall, unfortunately, at this time of the year. But you know, for him to be a fifth round pick, I think he to me he's done a great job to be a fifth round pick because most time he shouldn't even. Most fifth round picks don't even get to this point and start. I mean, it's very rare that you get a guy, even though you kind of seeing it now. You look at guys like Brock Purdy. You're looking at guys who were drafted in the late first round, are successful. Dak Prescott, all these other guys. But yeah, I'm one of the 50 percenters, and you're the other 50% that's divided. But
We'll see.
yeah. So yeah, oh yeah, for sure, for sure. I mean, yeah, let's hope whoever here can help him and develop him more. But or in this, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Obviously, we talked about the Kyler Murray. What we thinking that potentially could happen to Kyler Murray will be a situation where they would eat the cap, almost similar to what the Broncos are doing with Russell Wilson, where they're benching him and essentially, pretty much. Man, that whole situation is crazy.
Yeah.
It's bizarre. It's so crazy to think like and now the development now is they told him after he beat Kansas City to restructure his deal, and I'm like, that's crazy. Like, who told you to even drop this up last year? And I can understand if this was maybe like four, maybe 2 or 3 years down the line, but you made this contract last year, like
Yeah.
last year, like. So if you're gonna restructure my contract now, God knows what you're gonna do to me, next year or March. If you talking like this in October, and I'm like, whoa, like it's crazy. But so obviously looks like Russell Wilson will be essentially having a new team, and you talked about it. I was like, this is really interesting because we've always once we kind of know Russ is at the end of his line of the team. We always bring that, Russ to DC, come home, Russ. That's gonna start ratcheting up a little bit. So now, you thinking should the Commanders go for Russell Wilson?
No. I think if we have a chance to go and grab somebody like Caleb Williams, no. Now, if we don't end up with the first pick, we end up at 3. Let's say we stay at 3 and we get outbid for the first pick, and a team like the Patriots or the Giants, or maybe I don't know, the Chargers or Titans, one of those teams that needs a quarterback, or Atlanta, something like that they need a quarterback. They go up and pay a king's ransom for him. Then yes, absolutely. Because I personally, and again, I haven't started the draft part of this, so I haven't actually dove into watching the film and to really watching these quarterbacks play. Caleb Williams to me is one. Drake May is a far two, and then I don't think JD5. I don't think Jaden Daniels is a top 5 pick. I don't think he's a first round quarterback. Um, Bo Nix, Michael Penix Jr. I don't think they're first round quarterbacks either. I think they will be drafted in the first round just because the position tends to be overvalued and overdrafted. They tend to reach a lot more, but I don't think any of them are true first round talents. I think Caleb Williams to me is the only one who's an obvious first round, first overall pick. So if we're not able to go and get Caleb Williams, then yeah, you throw him an offer. Nothing like what the Broncos gave him, but maybe give him a 3-year or 4-year, let's say $120 million deal. Give him his $30 to $40 million a year. Because I think he has earned that. What he did in Seattle, his Denver stint might hurt that, but still give him around that $30 to $35 million a year range. And the person who hurt that was Denny Dimes over in New York. What he's getting for quite possibly the most average, mediocre quarterback play we've seen since somebody else in the New York Giants jersey that I won't mention because God forbid I call this dude average. God forbid I call him what he is. Yeah, you're gonna have to give Russ somewhere around that $40 million a year range. So I mean, go do it. If you don't get Caleb Williams, go do it. Keep that third pick. Get Joe Alt out of Notre Dame or the kid from Penn State, Fashanu, I think his name is. Go get him. Build that offensive line. Use those 2 second-round picks to maybe get some linebackers. Start building through the draft. Let's see what Russ can do in 3-4 years.
Yeah, I think it's kind of man's really contention, like you said. Man's contention on if we don't get the other hometown kid, which is Caleb Williams. If we don't get him, I think, and it's going to be contingent on will this team be kind of how this rebuild will be because they got enough money where I think they can turn it around. The situation can be turned around real quick, and I think this team, if they feel as though they are a contending team, that they could, because he could definitely shake things up in the NFC East, and I think that's one thing too. Where if you think this team, in this, based on general manager and and everybody there, if this team, if the roster that you're going to create, do you think they're a playoff caliber team? Now, and that's the thing. If you think this team will be a playoff caliber team, then you get a Russ to kind of help elevate that as well. Because as far as that's concerned, so I think you would take that chance on him. At this point, because he's only 35. And I think,
Right.
and it's crazy to think that as a quarterback, that's really not old, especially considering for him because he takes care of himself. This isn't like I hate, like you said, we gonna talk about quarterback. He's not like a Big Ben, like as far as when we think about quarterback wise. So I think if this team builds pretty well, and I think that if they feel that they think in their mind they have a playoff caliber team. And he could definitely help us win football games. And that's the thing where he could definitely help us. And I think even you look at what he did in Denver. I mean, even though they started off really bad, but they came back. They're still in contention to make the playoffs. And how bad they started. And
Right.
that man almost beat us. Like, dude,
they lost to us.
Yeah, shoot, they almost beat us. That's crazy. As far as if he ain't connect on that in that 2-point conversion,
Yeah,
it could have been a different story. But yeah, I think especially with all wide receivers, I think this probably would be his best. I would say, well, I don't know if Kurt Sam would be around, but you even look at Jahan, Terry. I mean, that would be a nice duo for him going
Or
forward. Then I think,
even if you go and grab Marvin Harrison Jr. at 3, and
oh,
then build the O line through free agency, give
crazy.
him,
Yeah,
you know, because
yeah,
I think Jahan is reaching the end of his time in Washington. He hasn't been the playmaker that
yeah.
I
We
would say
thought,
we not we thought, but Ron Rivera thought he was going to be. Um, so they could give him
yeah,
another weapon. It could be interesting. There's a lot of different ways that it can go, and it all starts with whoever the GM and head coach. Well, mainly the GM. One thing that's interesting though that a lot of people haven't seen people talk about. Yes, we have 90 million in cap space, but one thing that's different this free agency that's been different from the other 19, 20 free agencies in the past years is we have an owner with money now.
yeah,
One thing about Dan Snyder and why it was so hard to keep players was one, because we sucked, let's be honest. And two, Dan Snyder was broke by NFL owner standards. Obviously, he's still a billionaire in his own right. He had those assets that made him worth $1 billion. But as far as how liquid he was, cash on hand, what he was able to pay players up front in guarantees to play with the cap space, the way that the Chiefs are able to do, extending, Patrick Mahomes giving him $500 million, re-signing Travis Kelce, re-signing Frank Clark. They did all that within a 2-year span, and everybody's asking like, how do you keep all that under the cap space? It's all in guaranteed money. A lot of people always say the cap isn't a real thing. There's ways around it. And having Dan
really.
Snyder as an owner for the last 20 some odd years, he was a broke boy. So he wasn't able to give that guaranteed money, which is different now. Between Josh Harris, Magic Johnson, and all the other minority owners, we have the money, I believe, to start paying players up front.
Yeah. And that's where, and I think, and that's going to be curiosity as far as when you look at this, whoever's going to take over, and you really want to see like, will they keep those guys that we've drafted in the Ron Rivera era? So, like you said, could he be salvageable? As far as we talk about Jahan, like, could he be salvageable potentially? But it's just one of the things where, yeah, I still think we're still in a good spot, like you said. If we can get Marvin Harrison Jr., that'd be even better because I think and it's a distinct possibility because I can see New England jumping up to 2 to get Drake May, and because I still think it's probably gonna be Caleb, Drake, and then the third will be Marvin Harrison Jr. What have you. I mean, that's like kind of one of the things where if he's available, it's almost like you get the best available.
Yeah.
At this point, you get a guy of his nature, and yeah, and I mean, and then that's another one where what do you do with Terry? And that's where it kind of somewhat give you a little bit of flexibility there as well, and it's a lot to be, a lot of possibilities, and it's gonna be fun kind of seeing how this process plays out because as I look at the current draft order, it will change. It will definitely change. Somebody will move up, try to
Oh
move
yeah.
up. And one of them. And I know our phones will be ringing as well, not our personal phones, but the Commanders' phones will be ringing off the hook to try to get in that spot as well at number 3. So I mean, yeah.
You never know. San Francisco might make a move to move up and draft Shedeur Sanders at 3. So
Okay. But yeah, man, it's gonna be, it's gonna definitely be very interesting off season in these next final 2 weeks. A lot of people are jockeying for playoff positioning. We're just trying to clinch that number 2 spot or maybe clinch at this point. We're looking at draft capital. We're not looking at playoff pictures.
yep.
It's the time of year for you. 'Tis the season for that. So
Hey, at
yeah,
least we got something to look forward to.
Yeah, I mean, we got the off season. That's one thing that's gonna be fun. The off season could definitely be fun. Like somebody said, this is the best time because we'll have a owner, a general manager, quarterback. Not quarterback. We'll have a general manager, owner, and GM on the same page. I'm like,
Yep.
yeah, you're right. I mean, that's what we always wanted. So so that's how you're successful in this league.
Exactly.
So normally we kind of break down our games, a couple of segments of this. We're just gonna really just kind of just our thoughts on this matchup. At this point, you're 4-11. You got arguably probably the best team in the NFC coming back east again and playing us. And I mean, at this point, ain't much to say, man. It's that bad. So, what's your thoughts on this our matchup against the 49ers?
Looking at it, I came up with a nickname. I'm calling it the Maryland Massacre because you're looking at not even arguably. I think pretty much, consensus best team of the NFC if you live outside of Philadelphia and outside of Dallas. The consensus best team in the conference in the 49ers and the arguably worst team in the conference, which is us. Arguably worst team in the NFL. Let's be honest. We're rocking a 6-game losing streak, which is the longest by 3 games. The Chargers have the next longest at 3. So we've doubled that. So yeah, it's gonna be a Maryland Massacre. Chase Young is coming back with a vengeance. I think he feels some type of way. He has said some stuff in the media about, I don't know what they were doing where I came from. It was above my pay grade, stuff like that. He has taken shots at this organization, rightfully so. He's played well since he got to San Francisco, and I think that a lot has to do with him not having to be the guy. You got Nick Bosa on the other side. You have even a great linebacking core in Fred Warner leading that group of guys. He didn't have to do everything. He didn't have to do it all. I believe he got credited for that safety against Lamar Jackson last week on Monday night. The only highlight, really one of the very few highlights of that team on Monday. But I think it's gonna be bad. It's gonna be bad if you have Christian McCaffrey in your fantasy team and you're in the finals. Unlike me, I have Christian McCaffrey and I'm part of the 48% that's not in my finals. Have fun. Debo, have fun. That defense, if you have that defense, which I do, I'm gonna have fun. Like it's gonna be a bad game for us. I don't know if I'm gonna watch it all or if I'm gonna watch any of it. I honestly don't know at this point. I may watch it for a little bit. Once it gets out of hand, I might go do something else. Might go do something with the kids. Might play on my Switch for a little bit, but I don't see myself watching the entire game. It's gonna be bad.
Yeah, I don't know. I think sometimes I like to punish myself. So I think I am gonna watch this game. I don't know. I think I'm more so. I think maybe in a few weeks I'm gonna miss watching these games. So part of me kind of think to myself, I'm gonna try to savor as much as I can. If in a short period of time we got left in this season. But yeah, I think it's gonna be one of those games where it's gonna be ugly. I know Trent's not playing. So it's in most cases, if this was a legitimate bona fide team that had a great defense, okay, yes. Okay, that could be a big factor. Hey, we can get the Brock Purdy win, and we had an opportunistic defense that could, force Brock Purdy into turnovers. But no, this is not the team. This is not the team that I envisioned this team was going to be. But it's like you said, it's gonna be ugly. I think Christian McCaffrey is gonna do his thing. I definitely think Brock Purdy and them they're gonna get themselves back together in a groove. You still got to think about it. Like you said, we got 2 guys that are really hungry to do a show in this game. Obviously, Chase Young, there, and then Kyle Shanahan. I think you look at him also getting him coming back. So. And it's probably the best team he's fielded. I think last time they played us in 2019 at home, they beat us 9-0, but it was raining. This I don't know about the weather forecast, but if it's how it is here in the Mid Atlantic, it's gonna be in the 50s and the 60s. Prepare for a shootout. It can get ugly. It's gonna be a game where, and I could just see how Washington just laying down, and I can now hear people. And like, Jacoby just as bad as Sam. Yep. All kind of stuff. I'm just like, look, what y'all expected? Like, yeah, it's not gonna be pretty.
It's not. It's gonna be rough.
Yeah, it'd be a rough day to end your 2023. So
It's gonna be similar to the Bears game.
Yeah. Yeah, and then Debo pissed off because he got pranked this week, so he got a ball this so we can forget about him getting pranked. Also, look, man, you've been texting me wanting me to come on your show.
Man,
Cam Newton was like, dude, I don't even have your number. And then he tried to throw receipts. And then Debo had receipts and they were fake. It was some dudes from South Carolina.
it's a crazy time.
It is like you said, it's a crazy time to be alive. And then the text and this was really methodical. It was really methodical and yet genius because he had Cam Newton like his text. I like damn, like I didn't even know that you can change text like that on the phone. Like, I mean, my goodness, like maybe I'm old, but my goodness, like this is crazy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Debo got a ball because he ain't trying to be made a fool, and he want us to forget about what happened this week. So we got and obviously losing to our Beltway counterparts, the Ravens. I know that stung them, so it's like, hey, we gotta get back.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah,
they're definitely gonna play angry, and we gotta take the run of it. But
yeah.
Hey, one thing about us, we've been the get right team for every other team. If you haven't been playing well, play us. You'll get everything going. Don't worry. Just ask the Giants.
Exactly, for sure. So we'll round it out. Scoring prediction. What you got?
I'm gonna go 42-10. Niners.
Okay. 42-10. Okay. I actually kind of somewhat of a closer game, but I think how it's going to happen. I guess San Francisco winning 35-21, but I think the 21 points can come up in garbage time. So
yeah,
it's could be it's gonna get it's gonna. I think it's gonna be a situation where San Francisco probably be up by 20 points. Then they're gonna call off the dogs, and then we'll just get some easy little. I could see us being down maybe like 28-7 at half, almost similar to how we were last week, and then I'm calling the dogs off, and someone making it a game, and I can I'm not even sure who they back. Oh, Sam Donald. He'll probably play a little bit in this game, get some play. Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's gonna be an ugly game, man. It's gonna be like you said. I am gonna be I'm a glutton for punishment. So I think I sit there and watch it, and
Hey, sometimes you gotta pay extra for that kind of humiliation.
I know, right? It's been terrible, but yeah, man. So put a bow on episode 74. So Rob, tell me where they can find you on social media and in the upcoming project, what you got going on.
You already know you can find me FNC Pod on Twitter, Football and Chill Podcast, Facebook, and Instagram. Probably gonna be doing See You Sunday for the second to last time on Saturday. So tune into that. And then take kind of a break for the holidays. Probably be back the week of the 8th. Get ready for the playoffs and start pushing out Super Bowl content. Probably take a week off after the Super Bowl and dive straight into the draft coverage because I think this is probably one of the most important draft classes that we're going to have since, man, I want to say RG3 2012.
Yeah. Quarterbacks, yep. It's gonna be a lot of quarterbacks in this draft, but yeah. So pretty much check me out on Couch Coach Live. That's on Wednesdays, 8 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. That you can follow the website, couchcoachlive.com, social media at Couch Coach Live. Just getting some work done. Like you said, I know, I don't know, after the Super Bowl, I might take a month off. For real.
I wouldn't blame you.
Man. But yeah, so yeah, man. So this wraps up episode 74, man. We we got, the season finale next week, and man, and then there goes the off season, and Black Monday and
Oh, I
all
can't
that.
wait.
Oh man.
Oh, I can't wait till the 8th. I might do a show on the 8th. I might do a celebratory show. No, I'm not gonna call
Okay.
that. That's mean. I don't want to celebrate somebody's firing, but
Yeah. I'll be honest with you. I've already done practice what I'm want to say. I'm almost to a point where you're putting bullets and points because a lot of this stuff it's gonna be really heartfelt. It'll be really heartfelt about Ron, in my personal opinion. But it's gonna be an interesting day, and it's gonna be interesting to other coaches around the league, and as far as how that's gonna play out, and then seeing comparing our situation to the other coaching vacancies and kind of because a lot of it's gonna be more so who has the best opportunity. So because a lot of these guys are going to get it's gonna be like a musical chairs, like as far as do we have enough chairs to sit everybody? Just stand in third. But it's gonna just be interesting how we can compare our situation to others. So
yeah.
but yeah. So this has been episode 74. We'll catch you guys next week. And we out.